Good afternoon, folks. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Darren. I'm in our ISV team in the UK, and I have the honour of working with many of you as services partners and our ISVs to bring together Resell Motion with Marketplace. And now I'm really pleased to say with MPO in the UK. So what I'm going to do this afternoon in the next half an hour, he says hopefully, is talk you through why Marketplace and Channel. For those of you that have seen me present some of these things before, there's going to be some common themes. We're going to have a deep dive into MPO, look at where we've come from to get to this stage. We're going to look at some features and how we're bringing Channel and ISV together with this new mechanism. And then we're going to look at a framework of how we can build these marketplace practices. And hopefully by the end of that, we've got some key go-dos and some takeaways that we can have from today. For those of you that have seen me before, I apologise for what I'm about to do. But I am going to show you this and just see what the reaction is. There we go. That was an upturned laugh, I think, wasn't it? For a few of you at least. Why am I showing this? This is actually my card. I probably can't even mention the name, but hopefully this resonates with a few people. So if you have seen me before, forgive me, but I find this really interesting. There's some real parallels with what we're doing here as a great channel organisations and great ISV organisations, whether you've been around for a long time or whether you're a digital native company. Why do I put this up as a slide at the start of what we're talking about? Well, it's the nostalgia and the fact this was a big part of our lives. I did this at a channel partner event probably 6 months back and just looked at the audience, and somebody at their front put their hand up with a very excited look on their face, desperate to say something, honestly desperate. And I said, yeah, sure, what do you want to say? And this lady at the front said to me, please be kind, rewind. Does anybody remember that phrase? I'm far too young to remember that phrase. You lot are clearly much older than me. I'm only joking, clearly. So look, as much as that's a phrase that, we remember nostalgically going to the video shop, selecting our movie, taking it back, not rewinding it. I since learnt that's a really good Jack Black film. If anybody wants to go and watch Please Be Kind, Rewind. It's a terrible film, but it's Jack Black, so we've got to watch it, haven't we? Why do I talk about this? Well, it's because it was a generational change. It was a generational change in something we were really, really comfortable with. And I'm laughing because I feel like I've talked about this so many times, but actually, it means so much to so many people. If we look at the journey of these two organisations, that very big traditional organisation knew what was happening in the market. And that other, that we now know really well, digital streaming platform, actually wasn't a digital streaming platform to begin with. It's a mail-order DVD company. And it wasn't until late 2007 that the CEO of that organisation saw an opportunity to transform the way we consume video at home. And let's be honest, when that started back in 2007, it wasn't very good. The internet wasn't very good. We all preferred that traditional experience maybe we had. But rather interestingly, I learned this very recently, the CEO of that streaming company actually changed a couple of years before that transformation. And, the CEO of that video company, let's call them, not mentioning any names carefully. And the new CEO that joined that organisation didn't understand digital. He didn't view this as a threat. Now, you can see the point of intersection there about 2011 when both companies were worth $3 billion, and a year later my plastic card, and that was a genuine photo of my plastic card, doesn't work anymore. Does anybody know the worth of that streaming company nowadays, today, as of the stock market this morning? 267 billion. Now, why is this important in our world? Let me draw the analogy back to Channel. Let's make this valuable to you guys. It's because our channel, our IT channel, which represents, for traditional ISVs and best-in-class ISVs that we're all partnered with, that we've done this world of channel delivery and delivering for our customers so well over the last 20, 30, 40 years. And the opportunity we've now got with cloud marketplaces to drive that transformation. But it's very much going to be about a next generation thought process. It's going to be about how we build these new practices in the knowledge that we're not going to completely rip out on what we've done so well for so many years, but we probably need to find a way to help our customers transform and go on this application modernization journey. Does that make sense? Nobody's gone to sleep so far, so that's a good thing. Wait till we get through the next 185 slides. So, look, we had a preview in the UK back in July. It was a preview of multi-party private offer. For those of you that don't, well, you've heard some of this morning from Chris and from Lee and from Jason. For those of you that want a bit more on this, we're going to get to that in a minute. But this preview for multi-party private offer was with 19 services partners and in the 30s of ISVs. It was a preview for the UK and Canada. Of the transactions that we did in that fixed preview that we measure really well within Microsoft, 7 out of those 10 transactions were done in the UK. We've got really fast-moving channel partners in the UK, which I'm really pleased drove some real transformation. The first offer was $1 million plus with Computer Center and Nutanix. They really led the way in getting us started in that world. You know, we then saw deals with Software One and Red Hat. We had some great business from Softcat. Softcat managed to get their first transaction through, which is superb. We saw some real transformative things which shows the power of the Microsoft ecosystem. We're going to talk about ecosystems a bit more in a minute. But a net new partner to Microsoft, Nephos, transacted almost $1 million worth of Nasuni. Nephos signed in to be an MPO partner, signed in as a Microsoft partner, and did that transaction with the Azure First ISV Nasuni. That all happened in a matter of a week or so. And also Lucidity transacted their first ever private offer being delivered by Bytes. It shows that you as a channel partner community are really helping transform your partnerships with this mechanism. And where are we now? Well, you know, we've got hundreds of partners in the ecosystem globally now, but I'm really pleased to say over 40 already in 10 weeks. And 8 of those channel partners, 8 of those partners are new to Microsoft. So there's a real transformational change going on here. We're going to get to some of the mechanisms that are going to drive this transformation in just a second, but I'm really pleased to say some of the magic is really starting to happen. And it's about how we drive these meaningful partnerships. It's not only how we deliver better with our very existing, very established, superb enterprise class ISVs, many of which are in the room, it's also about how we deliver with this new digital native world. And the magic I'm talking about are things like one of our great UC partners, Solgari, UC platform built on Teams, not only going into our new MPO partners to drive net new customer acquisition, but our partner Boxy actually going full deployment themselves with the Solgari technology. I'm pleased to say this is becoming a rhythm of business. We see partners like Softcat getting up to the 6 transactions now. We see partners like Commvault delivering 2 transactions in a day last week. It's early doors, but we're really starting to see that change. We see some security-first channel partners like Sapio that have already built cloud marketplace businesses elsewhere, but actually see a real opportunity to build within this Microsoft ecosystem. Sapio quote that 70% of their customer business is delivered through a marketplace strategy, and they see an opportunity to transform that within Microsoft. And we also see a lot of transformation with these global ISVs. Again, partners driving some of these global ISVs. We understand, you are the ecosystem advisor. You're the trusted advisor. You're the services deliverer. You're that customer trust. We're going to get onto that a bit more in a second. Look, and I'm super excited that we had some of our first moving partners out there in the networking area today. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to have some of those meaningful discussions, hopefully without crushing you with some net new introductions. This is a learning curve for all of us. We've got a networking session at the end of the day today. Conscious of the word networking, as I say, it's about meaningful partnerships. And hopefully as we go through this journey together, you're going to get some more information from us as to how we can help hopefully simplify that channel as a service type approach. And we'd love your feedback as to what that looks like. So I'm going to dial back a bit just for a second and talk about the why. I'm going to give us the why of channel. And I think this is super important and something we're all learning more and more. Customers want to buy rather than build. The new customer, the Azure platform, is our fantastic ISV partners in the room here. They're the ones that are building fast. Has anybody ever read that book, Consumption Economics? Does that ring any bells with anybody? I've asked this a few times over the last 6-9 months of presenting this. I've only ever had 4 hands gone up. Anybody brave enough to raise a hand and say they've read it? Fantastic. That was another 2 hands in the room today. I love that. Superb. We've got up to 6. Consumption Economics. It's a really good book. It might will put you to sleep, but it's a great book. One of the things it talks about is the consumption gap. Consumption gap, anybody heard of that? Apart from these two over here. Consumption gap is the differences in product features that a product actually has versus what we can consume. Put in very simple terms for me, that's Microsoft Excel. 1,600 features, I probably know how to use 5. Thank God for Copilot that makes me look vaguely smart sometimes. Now, customers want a different value profile of the product they're consuming nowadays. It's why many of our partners are starting to use cloud marketplaces to manage that elasticity. Those new to market digital natives that have got a venture capitalist organization, those VC organizations are mandating that they start with cloud because it's no risk, and they start with cloud marketplaces because it's about co-selling and fast time to value. So we really see this generational change. And I guess another question, if I can. Let's go back again to some of the things I've maybe talked to you about before, but how many SaaS applications do we think the average enterprise has today in their organization? Throw some numbers at me. Give us a number, please. Simon. Sorry, was that Simon? 650. Very specific number. Thank you very much. How much SaaS in the average enterprise today? Give me a number, please, folks. Anyone going to advance or lower from 650? 10. We're definitely going the wrong way. I've got this organization, this auctioneer job wrong, haven't I? 650 to 10. We got one more. 200. Thank you very much. Bless you, sir, to the man down here. So 4 years ago, Xylo ratified that number was 600. I was with a public sector organisation in the UK just a few weeks back that had 1,300 SaaS applications. 1,300. One of my colleagues was with one of the global banks, 6,000 SaaS applications. Customers are buying this stuff. And actually, it's probably being bought in a line of business. That might not necessarily be with the classic infrastructure that many of our ISVs are delivering today. It might be a line of business specific application. But it's genuinely thought that IT probably, knows somewhere between 30 and 60% of those applications, maybe even less. So what we need is this, the world becomes buyers rather than builders. This is absolutely about a channel play. And we need this governance and guardrails approach. And actually, we're showing some great stats here from Gartner released recently in 2 of their recent reports, recent SAM reports, that organizations that fail to manage their SaaS life cycles are 5 times more likely to suffer a cyber incident. Now, also for us in this circle of trust here as Microsoft partners, organizations are much more likely to save money by using proactive software asset management than they are about driving us all down on price. It's a message we need to get into our customers clearly. How much of that SaaS is bought in a line of business? Give me a percentage, please, folks, if you would. How much of that 600 SaaS apps is bought in a line of business? You're reading the slides. That was a test. Thank you so much. I just wanted to check you were awake after lunch. Thank you so much. Up to 70% of that is bought in a line of business. So look, this is about the new ecosystem. It's about the ecosystem of, what do I mean by ecosystem? I mean exactly that. Go-to-market for SaaS is becoming ecosystem, not seller-driven. You've heard lots of this already. There's no bigger ecosystem than that of Microsoft's. You heard me mention Solgari built on the Teams platform. Many of our great ISVs are built on the technology that's not just cloud-based. It goes across everything that we touch every day. It's all our productivity tools. And as we start to launch MPO globally, analysts like Canalys that have recognized this 30% figure will run through channel, actually just 3 weeks ago in their latest survey are now calling at least 50% of this is going to be channel-led. Actually, we in Microsoft think that's going to be much bigger. And it's for everything that you know today. This is your platform for modern partnering. This is the way we come together and co-sell and not just manage renewals, with a great lower listing fee, that's fantastic, but actually drive incremental net new together. The opportunity here to help customers holistically adopt the platform, and going back to that governance slide a second ago, using the tools within the platform to help customers drive some standards across their organization. That's a channel role. Software asset management, software lifecycle management. how are you as a channel partner and you an ISV community coming together to drive these interoperabilities and adjacencies? Again, another great procurement stat, the average procurement persona will spend 10 to 15% more on a product if there's some interoperabilities and some adjacencies within the customer's existing tech stack. So look, some great messages. Let's deep dive into MPO. Look, to be super clear, we've covered this already mechanically. You showed this in Chris's slides, but it's about how do we get from a publicly transactable offer authorized privately to a channel partner, and it's per customer. Let's be super clear here. This is a private offer. Channel partners, when you get that offer and you mark that up, that's margin. You're not exposing that margin back to the ISV, to the customer, or to Microsoft. It's margin, it's not a rebate. And then that's delivered into the customer. Think about that chain and how fast that can go once we all get good at this. And to be super clear, it is about margin. Microsoft is the collecting party here. So for our sellers that are incentivized on margin, for you as organizations for which EBITDA and profitability is important, this is a really strong mechanism. Let's look at some features we've just announced. Transactable services. Anyone within our publisher community can deliver this as a 1P service today. It's not tied to MPO today, it's about the publisher. But both our ISVs can deliver this 1P service and channel partners can build that services capability themselves. And, this is where we can be heading with private marketplace. Actually, to build private marketplace into our software asset management practices as a channel partner community is a huge opportunity. To build the tooling that you've already got between us and take that into a cloud world, that's where customers want to see this value. They want to see you as the trusted advisor. And some learnings. We'll spend just a second on this, if that's all right. Everybody in the room, a couple of things really to remember today. Look, the Microsoft platform is built on everything that is Azure. It is not a standalone transaction platform that is now trying to be connected into that cloud platform. I'm not pointing at any other hyperscalers. Just going to let that land for a second. And as such, there's some complexity, but it's an advantage for our customers. This role-based access control that Microsoft customers enjoy, it's really important to them. That's their governance approach. It's really important that we as an ISV and channel partner community come together and use tools like the private offer pre-check to make sure the customer has the right permissions to accept the offer. And it's more important than that. When we click that download report button, and as an ISV or a channel partner, you can both ask your customer to do this. It's really important that you as an ISV community and as a channel partner community, you share this report, because this is going to give us a couple of really important things. One, it's going to validate that Azure billing ID. Two, it's going to validate the country. Three, it's going to tell us if that's an EA or not. And that's important for understanding when we get paid today, as you heard from Chris's presentation. And more importantly, it's going to tell us if the right permissions are in place from that role assignment section for the customer to actually accept the offer. And we can create some remediation up front if the customer can't do that. Let's remove the friction from this sales cycle and operate within the customer's great governance processes they already have. And also FX. Again, everybody says FX is really complicated in this world, and to a certain extent it is. But look, it's a great opportunity. Within the Azure Marketplace, that's the only platform with which a customer can accept and also purchase the private offer in their home currency. That's what our enterprise customers want to see. Now, Microsoft locks in that FX rate over the term of the private offer from an acceptance perspective. But from a payout perspective, you as channel partners and ISVs, if the customer's accepting in a different currency that you're being paid out in, you're going to need to know this FX rate. So my ask is of the ISV community to make sure that you're exporting this pricing data and sharing this with your channel partner. This is a bit of best practice. You don't have to do this with a live private offer. FX rate in Microsoft is dynamic. It's the WMR Refinitiv rate average from the first 2 days of the month, and it's payment directly from the Bank of Microsoft. But we need to generate this FX sheet here by exporting pricing data and get this sheet here, and we need to include this in that quotation stage with the channel partners, say, here's the FX that's going to be relevant to this offer. So 2 early learnings from the MPO process. Partners that do this are accelerating. So please help us get to this state as we learn to drive this transformation in our customers. So look, in the last 10 minutes, I am really pleased to hopefully take you through this channel partner adoption framework. Now, if I'm being really honest, this is a 2-hour workshop. I'm not going to get through a 2-hour workshop in 10 minutes. I don't think I'm going to be able to manage to do that anyway. But what I want to be able to do is at least give us a sense of how we can pick out some of the key elements in how we can drive this business process transformation change. And it's 4 simple steps. And there's components within this that's really important as we build out these businesses. You might well start as an ISV and channel partner just doing one transaction and making it work. And that's fantastic. We want you to do that. But actually, as we start to drive this transformation and hopefully drive net new incremental business, having a framework of business process change, we think is really important. And the opportunity to build this practice, if you go back to that Canalys paper, they're calling out that our fast-moving channel partners are building these cloud marketplace practices. The opportunity is to help customers holistically adopt the platform. Be the partner of choice for your customer that's going on this application modernization journey. Be the partner of choice, understand that your customer is going to find, try, test and deploy in the marketplace. They're going to pick out ISVs that you may not know today, and that's going to leave a services opportunity for you. And that's the opportunity to revise on that ecosystem with private offers. So let's run through this. It's 4 sections. We're going to start with a foundational section. I've called it a foundational section for a reason, because it's the absolute foundation of how we build these practices quickly and efficiently. And each of these steps are really important. So look, you're going to see an action in the middle and then a recommendation. I'm going to start spinning these slides really quickly, hopefully, and hopefully not drive too much confusion. But you're going to get these slides to go through afterwards. And as I say, there is an opportunity to work with me on a workshop with your leadership teams if you'd like to come and do this. But it's really important that your leadership understand your traditional routes to market and how this is an opportunity to drive incremental net new. Yes, we've covered the functional elements of signing in and making sure that an exec within your organization understands why this is important. Organizations that don't have this C-level understanding of what a cloud marketplace practice is are operating a little bit slower than those that don't. So it's really important that you're helping drive that discussion to drive this change. Making sure that we've got an owner, and it doesn't have to be a dedicated owner at this stage, but it really should be somebody that's got a single point of contact for us at Microsoft, an ISV partner community, and anybody that looks to start and drive these offers. And it's also somebody to point to internally. Making sure there's a market understanding and understanding the difference between margin and revenue. That sounds like a really simple statement, doesn't it? But understanding how this flow happens within the business is really important. So look, once we've got the foundational step complete, we go on to enablement. I don't know why, but it's really rang true with me. It gives me great pleasure to present to you the 2 donuts of enablement. That sounds kind of nice, doesn't it? Didn't think I'd be saying that this afternoon. But look, the enablement donuts, I don't know whether I like that or not, but we'll see where it goes. The enablement donuts, it's 2 for a reason, because this is the big steps. This is the big steps to get this right. It's defining your process with your operational teams. It's actually giving some customer intent that you've got a landing page in place to drive this centricity. And then it's 4 stages of training. Why have I called out 4 specific changes of training? Well, it's important that each of these steps are considered, that leadership understands how this is going to change some sales management cadences. Actually, specialist teams, NetSec and DC organizations that really set that customer precedent. We're not asking them to change their vendor favorites that they've worked with for many years. We're asking them to help augment them and accelerate them. We're also asking them to understand that customers are going to want to drive some innovation with some of these digital natives, and that's going to come from a cloud marketplace. Here's the opportunity that I hope to get to within the next 6, 9, 12 months. The opportunity for you as the Microsoft partner ecosystem to work with your already pre-built Microsoft teams to understand where these Microsoft-centered ISVs are and how we can all go and drive net new. We're not there yet. This is something that we can go and build together. And then how do we drive sales training? For those partners that I've done this with already, actually giving some simple assets, and I'm going to point to where you can get these assets from in a second, is really important to help sellers go and have an initial discussion and spot an opportunity really quickly. And we've got some tools for that. The second enablement donut, ladies and gentlemen. It just rings, doesn't it? I don't know why. Look, selecting your ISVs, really super important. You've got some great partnerships in the room already. As I've said, you're going to come across some new ones that are driving some real transformation. And we're all looking to spot the next big mover that's going to drive transformation in our customers. But it's really important that we're driving these partnerships and we're being focused on how we can take these opportunities further forward. And then it's about getting some operational resource aligned. This is really super important. You've all got within your organizations, though, that one or two people that understand how these machines are built. And it's picking out that next generation thinker that can help you do this. Having your operational resource aligned, probably the most crucial part of this second part of the donut, because this is where it can all fall down super, super quickly. And then it's about assets and hopefully getting to a frequently asked questions and a single source of truth. That sounds bold, me as someone from Microsoft standing up here and talking about a single source of truth, doesn't it? But look, it's really important. Again, I keep saying these things are really important. Getting to maybe a simple FAQ. How do we build a private offer process within our business? And those solution adjacencies, what connects with what? Think about that buyer. Think about that buyer that's got that 10 to 15% spend additionally for those products where there are adjacencies. Let's start bringing together that ecosystem of products that customers want to go and use. And I'm going to whistle through these next sections because hopefully this starts to become quite self-explanatory. When we get to execution, it's making sure that customers understand the value that you're bringing. And it's not necessarily changing the value that you've got today. I get asked this from channel partners all the time. Well, what's my unique value? Well, it's everything that you deliver to your customers. It's your customer intimacy. It's how you manage those customer life cycles. We know that in Microsoft, multi-party private offers are 2 to 3 times the size of direct private offers. It's validation already that you as a channel partner community manage that adoption cycle within your customers. There has never been a more important time for channel to use a cloud marketplace opportunity as a mechanism of transformation. Compensation is super important. We've covered this with a huge amount of you already. Let's make sure our sellers get comped effectively on this process. That we're using marketplace rewards to secure some of those promotions. And then we're working with the teams here to go through account mapping, getting to share some form of pipeline and starting to share those early wins, as Kristen covered, and starting to track some offers. And this is where we are now with some of those fast-moving partners that you've got out in the room there today, I'm really pleased to say. And as we get to the growth donuts, we're in green now. Of course, a donut's going to be about growth, isn't it? A dedicated marketplace sales lead. I'm pleased to say that partners, many partners have this already, like the great work that Bytes have delivered, the great work that Softcat have done. They've got cloud marketplace leads that understand the importance of this within the business. I'm pleased to say great partners like Phoenix and SCC have also employed now cloud marketplace leads to go and drive this in the business. That's your trust. That is the internal trust that is going to really help accelerate this. We could also say, an ISV lead. You all have fantastic vendor alliances organizations, but understanding that there's a whole ecosystem of new partners out here that need some accelerated onboarding, that maybe need a different approach. Your route to the decision makers within those partners is going to be slightly different. And how do we then get to managing goals, building some services, and actually putting a framework around this? Again, I've seen some great intelligence around you as a partner community already about how do you work with ISV partners to understand, are you goaling correctly? Are you goaling regardless of your route to market? Are you paying your sellers correctly? Are we all incentivized to do this? Do we understand the processes? So look, that's the channel partner adoption framework. There is an ISV version of this as well with a bit more detail about some of the listing side. You can go and get this in the assets that will be shared at the end or at the aka.ms/UKMPO link. As I say, I'm happy to work with you on a workshop to deliver this if you want to. But look, we get from an understanding state to a refining, aligning and accelerating state over a period of time. This is business process change. And it's also business process change for your customers, for our joint customers. You heard from Lee about co-selling. You heard from Kristen about building GTM. Actually, it's an education phase. You as partners are making those introductions into Microsoft customers that maybe even some of our Microsoft sellers aren't aware of yet. That's a channel partner play and a huge opportunity. If you're managing the education piece into that customer, I guarantee you're going to get the transact piece. That's exactly how this is going to work. And look, I'm pleased to share, a fantastic asset from Team Computer Center. It's about coming together and driving your propensity together. And we've taken out the ISV names here from the Computer Center asset, just so that we don't all jump on Computer Center and say, we want to be on that piece of paper, which makes total sense. But look, this is one page, a fantastic example of a great partner sharing their value and stating to market how important these partnerships are. It's about how we drive this modernization, application modernization together as an ecosystem. And I think we've covered marketplace rewards, but just to say it's really important that both of us as ISVs and channel partners work together to use these rewards effectively within our customers. And hopefully you've got a sense of some of this already. I'm well aware that many of you will have built cloud marketplace practices with some other organizations, and very successful they should be too. But there is some differentiation here. You know, from a banking and finance perspective, there's no cost uplift of dealing with MPOs instead of private offers. I'm not pointing to any other fingers here. We've covered the currency piece, but to go back to the banking piece, you're getting paid directly from Bank of Microsoft. The FX rate is a dynamic FX rate. The fact that customers can buy in any one of 17 currencies and 52 tax-managed countries. I go back, I'm sure one of the questions that's come in will be rollout of MPO across Europe. Well, think about what we said about the enterprise-grade capability of the platform. This is built on Azure. It's not a standalone transaction platform. It's some of the reasons why it takes time to manage the tax processes to get those countries on board and make sure this is compliant. And look, ecosystem. The ecosystem we're talking about here, Microsoft ecosystem, is hopefully we've covered. There's no bigger. We have a joint opportunity to drive this application modernization process here with a fantastic Microsoft channel. The opportunity is definitely there for us here. So look, I'm going to leave you with these final thoughts. Work with us to build the practice. It's such a pleasure to deal with the partners that are in the room here today that have already done such a great job of this. And thank you for getting to this state already. We're starting to see some great changes and some great benefits, hopefully, as we start to drive this incremental net new process. Focus on those meaningful partnerships, working out where the next one's going to be. Let's make sure we're not video companies in that room that we were talking about a minute ago, in this room rather. Let's make sure we're that next generation streaming company. And identify your first movers. You know, your first movers are going to be your customers, your internal operational staff, and your partners. It's going to take time for everybody to get this. As much as we've had cloud marketplaces for a long time now, this is 10 plus years old, but now's the time to bring this channel together in a Microsoft world. So, thank you very much for listening, folks. That's it for the MPO section. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.